Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Busting Through Life Challenges. As you will be aware, I've been talking to an awful lot of coaches recently, and an awful lot of them have been in the business realms of office work and how to help staff and etc. etc. So now I want to bring the attention and bring everything back down to you, the person who is behind all of those things that we do. And I'm so grateful that my guest today, Rory LemonAid, who is also an osteopath, has turned coach, and he is bringing both of these things together, and he's going to talk to us today about that. Rory, thank you so much for coming on today. Rory, what got you on your path to becoming a coach, and why is it so passionate for you?
Lovely question. Thank you, Diane, for inviting me, by the way, as well. I appreciate everything that you do and how compassionate you are for change for the world. And
no.
and so, yeah, so it's a how to put it in some ways that is really it comes back down to where I was in my parents' living room when I was 16 years old, and the letter arrived about my GCSE results, and there was a lot of excitement and concern and about what the future may hold, and basically I opened the letter and it said that I'd failed my first language, English language, and all the coursework was pretty, amazing compared to my concerns about how little I could show my intelligence in the sit-down short-term exams, and the time restricted stuff, and so. It completely confirmed that for me, and actually, when I was like, okay, I'm not an academic. That's literally what I believed about myself, and I thought it was a conscious choice because it just confirmed what I believed already. But actually, in hindsight, now after being coached and going deeper and deeper into what's going on for me and why, I've really found out that shaped me, not that it confirmed what I thought I knew about myself.
Yeah.
And that was a massive realization in the last few it's actually just in the few last months I've been combing through my past, doing these lots of different techniques, timeline therapy, NLP, and it's all been taking a little bit of a layer off, but then this really hit home just recently. It completely shifted me to realize why I was so resentful about a system, and that I thought I was an artist and I'm not a communicator, and I stayed quiet in group conversations. I had huge ideas and going, and just thinking, look, this society says, or institutions say this is one type of intelligence, and I know that's not true, but I couldn't even talk. I couldn't even explain it. So that built up to the point where I became not just depressed up and down, but also to the point where I actually went into mental exhaustion and nearly went mentally ill. It was a psychosis for about a week, or more or longer, but it was building up to the point where I couldn't even sleep for about a week. And I didn't know I felt embarrassed about asking for help, and I didn't know how to express my feelings. I just thought, this is just happening. Luckily, there was this thread that I was holding on to, knowing that there was something bigger than this, that I somehow knew that I could get back to, or something. But I was luckily given reflexology for 14 weeks, fortunately, that showed me the power of natural healing methods from the body into the emotions, into the mind, to calm the mind back down. And I was like, okay, this really confirms something for me. and I wanted to learn massage. So I did massage for 8 years. Then I was burnt out physically, had osteopathy. Osteopathy helped me to heal from the physical, and I was like, oh, this is great. I love osteopathy. So that really reconfirmed all the ideas around about functional health, functional and holistic approaches to health. But it still wasn't enough. But I did study it. And it was at that point where my friends had basically suggested that I might be dyslexic. But again, I thought I knew who I was. Even if I'd recovered, I was like back in my sort of, other than the flashbacks of not wanting to go back there, or things that were like PTSD style stuff that would come up around anxieties around who I was, or whether, fear of judgment, fear of success, fear of rejection, all those things were underlying and just keeping me where I was still. I discovered I was dyslexic when I was 33, studying my master's. And so this meant I could just be, okay. I felt relief.
Way to get into education before dyslexia has been picked up.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, it was a long time ago now, it seems, and it was a type of dyslexia where, after getting my results back, showing me that it wasn't something that there's like 4 different ways the brain can have different peaks and troughs in how we react and respond to stimulus and learn. And so for me, reasoning was massively high, but the working memory and the processing speed of actually processing language, taking it in and putting it back out again, meant I felt like I was playing table tennis with like a baseball bat and a football, trying to be really finesse about things and trying to get it, get my words out in the right direction, in the right order, using clunky machinery of my brain at the time. So really, that's where I was struggling. It came like in my clinical exams. I had to write a report about getting through the osteopathy exams. I had to write a report off my own back because I was getting the same feedback from tutors in the clinic as I was at school, saying wasn't able to. It's not really showing any evidence that he knows what he's doing and why he's doing it. But the tutors knew that I was dyslexic by that point. But even then, they weren't necessarily sort of taking some time to tease it out of me, knowing that or finding out how I react and respond, and taking that time to find out whether I did know it or not at that point. I was just getting feedback. So I was like, I can't carry on like this. I won't be able to get through it. So I wrote a report and saying what my struggles were, my challenges, how I learned, and they gave me extra time and a whole set. They gave me a unique exam that I could actually that suited my needs.
Yeah,
and I got through it because of that.
And educated them for any other person that's going through all of this. That's tremendous. Well done, you.
Thank you. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. And the funny thing is that even after all of that, coming out of it and starting to work with osteopathy, it was exhausting to do that full time as well. But I mean, we get used to doing whatever we get used to doing, and we learn. I could have carried on doing that if that was my passion, but something was still missing in this whole piece, and especially around coming up and leading up to the pandemic, and everything just led towards me wanting to become more of a mentor around how to keep people out of the treatment room. Something was like, there's too many people here that keep repeating or the pain and then coming back, and then just, there's not enough like understanding around mindset not just mindset, but the ways to look after. And I just got really, really sucked into wanting to know how to help people to look after and create healthy habits. But then it's just evolved and evolved and evolved now into like something completely different, completely almost different, completely unique. So it's because I can't find anything that teaches what I've been drawing from every different thing, that I've actually put together more of my own course in and I'm not like saying that my way or is everyone else's way, but I'm open to the showing that there's a unique learning ability within us all, and we get to look at what commonly works and filtering out the stresses, and then seeing this coming from the scientific point of view of science being from the standpoint of what's here and what does how will the individual react and respond to testing and checking what works commonly if it's not done in a holistic way from the mind point of view. Because I was into the body with the osteopathy, now it's like coaching and the mind, so that's where I see the coaching helping with the mind. So there's a lot there, and that's my motivations really, because I feel like there's something going on with this neurodiversity trend that's coming out, and I don't see it as a trend, I see it as an
awakening, really, isn't it?
Yeah, we as humans, we've gone from very intuitive, completely in the dark ages, just stumbling about, to like being more like scientific, but then it got hooked on the problems of the mind now as well, because the consciousness has opened up to be able to see the mess.
Yes.
But everyone's confused, they're not tidying it up, they're just seeing a load of mess.
Which and that's where the coaches come into, isn't it, to help
the coaching revolution, the coaching revolution.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk more then about that next thing that you're doing, the neurodiversity, and how that's all come about, because I find that very fascinating. I've been listening to your recordings. I think they're great, that you've got all different types of people that, and sometimes people would shy away from actually opening up and talking from the heart of their experience, their, you know, what's going on for them, and how they integrate that and get those things that people don't see as normal, but they're taking those expressions and they are creating and supporting others that are struggling, etc., etc. So over to you. Tell everybody about that. How did you get into it, and how it all is come together?
Okay, so really, really briefly, the way I see it from the functional point of view is that again this problematic mind that comes along, and it's problematic in terms of wanting to find out what to do about a problem, is what I call assessumtions. There could be assessment. The brain's assessing everything all the time to make sure we're safe, but then becomes an assumption and a belief around what to do with that. It's automatic. So we can't necessarily separate at this point. If we're being truly scientific, we can't separate the difference between what has been inherently genetically passed down, what's societal expectations have been passed down through generations. There's in more environmental factors from parents and how everyone talks and acts generally, and also if you believe or not about this stuff, or are open to it or not, but there's also what could be this as a sort of intelligence. I mean, genetics, you could look at it from a structural point of view, that just it prints the next thing and prints it like a printing press, and then somehow it evolves. But there's this, what gets passed down through an inherent, like, are we born with a personality or not? It starts to get into really deep stuff. But I'm trying to simplify it a little bit here and say that we can't necessarily separate that and go, right, well, we can take an individual and just test out and see whether it's genetics, because the genetics have been affected by everything else, and all the epigenetics and you know, people that super consciousness that we can tap into and get inspiration from, or whether it's coming from where is it coming from? How do we know? So to simplify it, neurodiversity and neurodivergence, for me, neurodiversity explains around the spectrum in which we react and respond to stimulus and how we learn. And so that could include anything from what is seemingly neurotypical or normal ways of thinking, all the way through to the broad spectrum at the ends of the scale. And neurodivergence is labelled as a typical set of traits, like dyslexia, OCD, Tourette's, bipolar, autism, ADHD, ASD. The list goes on, and because the more problems you try to look for, the more you can find traits in those problems and then label them. And I'm not saying that it's not useful, otherwise we don't have reference points for, you know, having language. I've got reference points in my words to be able to describe what's coming out from me.
Yeah.
And that's useful, but it's not the be all and end all. It's about bringing in the functionality around it and understanding it from a functional point of view and what works. So neurodivergence for me is, if we go back to the root of it, it's adversity comes along and like gets in the way, like a bus was coming towards us. We either go, run out of the way, or we don't get out of the way in time and it hits our leg and we break our leg, or you know, we could have a mental or emotional adversity that happens, or we have a physical one and our body adapts and our mind adapts to that change, and then we are left with that. So my suggestion, and this is again personal opinion, that it's that this neurodivergence comes from, we're all neurodivergent. I'm not belittling anyone's struggles with their classified neurodivergence, but I'm saying that I'm suggesting that we're all diverging. We've all diverged in some way, and some of it's still more neurotypical, but we've still got our own problems and struggles based on all of that. So I want to suggest that we just apply this, what I've learned, and what is commonly learned from as holistic as possible. Holistic includes everything we don't know as well, though. So you can only be as holistic as possible. Can't be truly holistic, but so just taking what is known by it all, what works for me, and seeing what's possible to change. And I'm not trying to say that we can fix or cure anything. I'm just saying that let's see what's possible based on giving the environment and the space to be able to actually learn and grow and change the beliefs about ourselves. That's because that was one major thing for me, was as one of my modules in the course is create your beliefs, and another one is presence is everything, and another one is lead your life. So there's all these things where if we suddenly have a choice, we don't realize we have a choice until we know we have a choice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds really interesting. So if anybody wanted to find out about your course, Rory, how did they get in touch with you?
I can give you my link tree, which has got someone's very welcome to have a find your place in the world strategy session with me, which is a simple 45-minute session where we evaluate what your struggles are and where you would like to go with things, what your ideal situation would be, and then what it does is map that out for you so that you can take away something from the end of that session, and then we work out whether it's a good fit or not for work, whether we're working together or not. But there's a plan, at least.
Well, it gives everybody the opportunity to absorb what it is that you're saying, and then thinking how that might apply to me, how I might be able to help myself, and to have that space to have that conversation with you, to create that safe space for somebody to actually open up and say, I've been dealing with this, this, and this, and I'm getting nowhere. Can you help me with that?
Yeah. And what it means, yeah, exactly. And what it means is that you don't have to necessarily struggle on your own, because that's what typically happens in here. It's like, it's this automatic mental muscle habit of going, I'm fighting to fit in, I'm fighting to do this, fighting, struggling, and actually that there's always someone somewhere that knows something one step ahead, and that's it's, you know, and they're you know, and YouTube's full of it as well. So it's like as well. So there's always things to look at, you know, and learn, but it's like putting it to practice and knowing whether it's something that has to be a resonant.
Who is this actually ideal for? Is it for like struggling children, teenagers, or is it just that you work with adults?
Okay. Well, whether a young adult is freshly diagnosed, coming out of school or in school, or university, for instance, I don't tend to work with children as such. That's only because they're just still developing, and it takes like parental guidance and stuff like that, and haven't really done much work in that. But basically, anyone that has the capacity to answer for themselves is totally fine, and that's based on personal choice, I think, personally.
And any parents listening to this, they can obviously sit in to, if the child is comfortable with that.
Of course, yeah, there is that, yeah. And so, yeah, so whether diagnosed freshly at that age, or whether late diagnosed, or even just whether considering there might be some kind of suspect fighting to fit in, like all the things that I've been talking about, my struggles, if that's something that resonates, then it's not about having a diagnosis, it's about whether it resonates with you and whether you want to see what's possible to change.
Those things only help you while you're in the school system, I feel. It's just then you can adapt yourself in life. And I don't think those things often come up as sharply, and that's the idea, isn't it? It's giving people the coaching and the skills to relax into who they are, embrace who they are, and just show up and shine.
100%. And really, the crux of it is that these habitual mental things that are going on cause like either scatteredness, or it causes hiding emotions, but knowing there's something more more intelligent going on. I call it intelligental, because there's like, want to be too gentle, but that's okay to be gentle, but it's how to tease it out and communicate well, and feel recognized, feel heard, feel valued.
And I think that sometimes is where parents struggle, because they feel that they should be able to have those conversations with the children, but both parties are struggling because they're trying to help and the child's trying to understand and work out what the heck's going on. So to have somebody like you to come in and have that conversation between the two even could be so life-changing for both. Get those communications going and change the way they're feeling. Rory, thank you so much for everything that you've shared with us today. So I've been asking my guests a question, and I shall ask you one too. So, who has inspired you the most in the last 2 to 3 years?
It's a tough one. In some ways, that's what my brain wants to say, but it's been such a journey. I don't know whether I could. It's like someone saying, "What's your favorite album or favorite?" There's a number of steps that have all contributed to this. So I mean, I could talk into that.
Yeah.
Or do you want just the one person?
Well, you know, if there's one person, one book, one course, anything, then you could throw out there that somebody might go, oh, it might be worth me listening to that or reading that.
Oh.
How about that?
Well, I can certainly say that there's been a ladder that's gone up, and so first of all, high performing coach Ryan Matthews. Then there was positive intelligence, so that's Shazad Charmaine.
Yeah.
Then there was hardcore leadership, which is Shanda Sumter, and I'm probably missing another step there. And
no, but I get you.
But those are three. Those are three.
It's true, isn't it? That saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive, no matter what that looks like. You know, it's not typical teacher. It's like the mentor, the coach, the guide, the guru, all of those words that people like to have around. All basically, if it's resonating for you and it's arrived at the right time.
Yeah. I couldn't have had any. I wouldn't have been able to take the next step without all that happening.
Yeah.
But each one of them has been more and more profound because of it. And actually, the one last person is Maria Adriana, and she runs something called Genius Genesis, and she's helped me to take all of those elements that I kind of knew as theory, and it's just drip feeding it every week now. So it's really helped, because it's really about tapping into our creative self that we have, and that's really most important. It is to realize that if we're not focusing on creating, whether it's more dry creativity, like organizing your day, making sure things are tidy, that doesn't sound like creativity to some people, but actually it's massive. It's whatever we're creating. We get up and whatever choice and action we choose to do. So this dry creativity, or this more wet creativity, or let's call it, is like creativity to draw and dance and sing and laugh and all of that kind of stuff. That's all really important too.
Yes.
But if we're not focusing on it, if we're just if we don't have something to focus on and commit to it and work towards it using our creative focus, then all the patterns are being created or maintained that are already keeping us the way we are, and that's just going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a choice to either just let that happen, or what do you want to create going forward? So I'll leave that question.
That's great. Yeah.
One last thing you did say that I didn't mention, because I said about the call, and that's fine to. I'll to give the link tree, but I've also the course. You asked about the course, and that's going to be a live training in September. But I would just recommend first speaking to me, and then seeing where we go from there.
Yeah, that's great, Rory. Thanks for all of that information that you've shared with us today. And as always, I just get so inspired talking with you, and I just love it. So, Rory, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'll see everybody else on my next episode. Bye now.
Thank you.